Welcome to the SIP, the Solstice Innovations podcast. In each episode, we chat with industry experts and innovators in insurance and insurtech. Join us for insights on trends, technologies, and the stories driving our industry forward. Let's sip on knowledge together at the SIP. Hi, I'm John Umstead with Solstice Innovations. On this episode of the SIP, our guest is Don Griffin, who's Senior Department Vice President and Project Coordinator at the American Property Casualty Insurance Association, or APCIA. All right, so thanks for taking some time to be with us today, Don. Really appreciate it. Why don't we get started by having you just telling us a little bit about yourself and your role at APCIA and how you landed there.
Happy to do so. My name is Don Griffin, as you know, but I have been at APCIA for almost 28 years now. I started out in the insurance business in selling business insurance for a company, and then and that was in Ohio. I actually worked in the Texas market for quite a while, which is where I learned about flood insurance. Worked at an agency between Houston and Galveston. Then I went from there to San Francisco Bay Area, where I learned about other catastrophes like earthquakes and wildfires, and then landed back here in the Midwest because I started in Ohio, back here in the Midwest. Like I said, about almost 28 years ago.
I'm an Ohio boy myself. I don't know if you knew that, but what part of Ohio are you from?
Cuyahoga Falls. It's a suburb of Akron or Cleveland, depending upon which way you want to claim it. But I still have relatives in the very eastern part of the state next to the Pennsylvania border. My parents were born there, so they kept moving a little bit farther west, but didn't get very far.
All right. Well, again, thanks for taking time to be here with us, and let's talk about your role at APCI a little bit. You wear multiple hats. You're involved with leading the coordination and establishment of the National Flood Conference. And then you have your day job there at the APCIA. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. I have dealt with so many facets of the industry that my day job, I work with about 27 other people in the policy area, and we try and figure out what we think about or try and advocate for with regard to how our industry should be regulated or what legislative bills that get passed. And we try and influence those throughout the country and in the various states. Our organization represents about 1,200 companies, which is, there's a lot of sometimes companies within a specific group. But we have about 2/3 of all the property casualty business written in the United States. And particularly with flood, we have it's about 80% of the private flood business that's written is sold by our members, as well as about 81% or a little more of the NFIP WIO direct business or WIO business sold by our members.
Yeah, and so, kind of thinking about that mission, it really kind of centers on promoting a healthy, competitive insurance marketplace. What are some of the biggest challenges that you're seeing right now to achieving that, and particularly in those catastrophe-exposed states?
Yeah, it's been a really tough area from that standpoint, I will say that. It's been particularly hard in recent years as the number of events you've seen and the so-called secondary perils, such as things like severe convective storms, are more expensive than some of the big ones that we thought about in the past, like hurricanes and earthquakes. They've kind of taken over. And to give you an idea what that is, those convective storms produce a lot of flooding as well, and there's flash flooding in many cases. So, but those are obviously costing more because they're occurring more frequently and they're more widespread around the country than just a normal hurricane. Well, if there is such a thing as a normal hurricane or an earthquake.
Yeah, and again, kind of relative to that, kind of exciting news coming out of the what has been the National Flood Conference, and that is that in 2026, you've announced that you're expanding it to include wind and fire, so that's a first, right? So what drove that decision, and what are some of the new opportunities that creates for collaboration across the industry?
Sure, and that's a great thing for us to do. I think based on what we've seen from the federal government with the NFIP and potential reforms that may come out of due to the FEMA Review Council, which their report's due out sometime fairly soon in the next couple months. We need to pivot to other perils to include them, so that because they're always seemingly connected in some ways. We've started to also host what we call residential resiliency roundtables that look at the issues with all kinds of stakeholders, such as realtors, builders, lenders, claims folks, legislators, regulators. And the idea is there's a lot of pressure on availability and affordability related to property insurance right now. So we're trying to figure out what we can do together as a group, not just from the insurance standpoint, to make it better for consumers and for businesses. So we have, at this point, decided we should expand it a little bit and see if we can add more to what's going on, and give the people that attend the conference a bigger picture view of the real world that's out there right now.
And then I would expect you would also expect to see increased attendance or participation in the conference, or
That's hopeful. Yeah, we've been doing this. This will be the 12th year coming up next June, and we have seen attendance go up and down. Of course, went down, but really was still quite up during COVID, although it was virtual participation, not in person. But we've had as many as 1,100 people in person, and this past year when we held it outside the DC area for the first time in that 11 years, we saw it drop a little bit, but it was still 600 or 700 people. But the idea is to drive and get more people involved, because one of the biggest focuses we see in this area is the need for more mitigation, trying to prevent things from happening that is possible if you get more people involved. So we're trying to make sure that all segments of the business are involved in this from that standpoint. So that's the advantage we think we'll see by expanding it to include other perils.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you previously you mentioned the FEMA Review Council, and there's all kinds of thoughts, theories, and even rumors flying around. Everything from let's do away with NFIP and just have a private program, or depup the NFIP, to hey, let's expand NFIP to include wind and fire, and anything and everything in between. Does the APCIA have any kind of official stance on any of that to date?
Yes, sir. I think we do. We really don't want to see government programs expanded. So putting an additional backstop or adding wind or some wildfire into the flood program is not something we support. If you remember, there was legislation that passed the House and got to the Senate following Hurricane Katrina that was authored and pushed by Gene Taylor. But that didn't go, it didn't pass, and we don't think that that's the way to do it. We think as a private sector we can do a better job in managing those perils, but we do need the help of the federal government, and from some standpoint, and that is the fact that the flood program right now, while it's been a good program, is underpriced. Although they're working to get those prices back up to where they need to be, it's hard to compete with that product in the private sector right now. But we're hoping that that'll happen in the future, and then the NFIP will do what it really is sort of doing already, is becoming a market of last resort, or a place for people to go that can't get the flood insurance privately.
Flood, wind, fire, they all are risks that are increasingly interconnected. You kind of alluded to that a little bit ago. So how can the APCIA or any entity help bridge the policy and regulatory gaps between those different peril lines?
That's the key thing, and one of the things I remember is people always talk about the homeowners policy. If you will go back, and it's a long time ago, and fortunately for me, I was not there to help design that, even though I am an old guy. In the 50s, there was a movement to try and combine what they called a fire policy a theft policy, and a liability policy, and that's what ended up being the modern homeowners policy. We think that over time there'll be some way to bridge the gap and have more of the perils that people are struggling with right now put into such policy. However, education is the key. People need to not only understand their risk, but pay attention to them. We think that a more robust private market will develop for flood, and there will be an expansion by some companies to include flood, quake, wildfire, and other perils together to eliminate the gaps. However, it's going to take a while, and in the near term, such coverage, some companies actually offer it already. It's fairly expensive, and so people are not willing to, particularly in this era of record increasing inflation, even though it's leveled out, it still is not. It's still there. It's hard for people to swallow that kind of expense all at once and right now.
Maybe we'll have opportunity at the next conference, the expanded conference, to address that, either keynote speakers or breakout sessions,
Sure.
that sort of thing.
Yes, sir. We will.
Lots to come. So let's talk about technology a little bit, because everything that we're talking about is dependent on technology, and increasingly so. Does APCIA play any kind of role in supporting members and regulators in adopting innovations in technology?
Certainly do. We certainly support it. I remember one of the conversations we had with our members early on when cyber was the biggest thing that everybody thought about. And you could have cyber attacks or cyber terrorism or cyber leaks or whatever that happened. And then how do you insure it and how do you protect against it? We asked our CEOs, what of those things did they want us to do and address? And they said, yes. So that gives you an example. Right now, the biggest thing is artificial intelligence. The key will be to put together the information in a way that allows insurance companies to become more efficient and responsive when a claim occurs. For example, if you look just a few years ago, nobody was using aerial imagery, also known as drones. But now it's fairly commonplace to use that to inspect damages after an event, try and do some underwriting on the front end. And while there's some concerns about how that is managed and used, and some concerns with regard to privacy, we're trying to make sure that the insurance industry has the opportunity to make that, because frankly, it's safer if we can send a drone up to take a look at your roof after there's been an event, rather than a claims adjuster who might slip and fall off of it. So those are kinds of things that we think will do, that would be happy to help with. We also believe that we want to make sure that insurance companies can leverage all these technologies in a way that makes it more efficient for consumers as businesses. The key there being is, you think about it, now there's apps you can use if you're in a car wreck to take a picture of your car and send it in and get almost an instant review and approval of what to do at the body shop. There's things like that coming. Property insurance is a little tougher to do that with, but those kinds of things are things that consumers are demanding.
Mm-hmm.
And the industry needs to be able to respond to. So we advocate for for technology being able to utilize those products so that we can better serve that customer and help them get back to the lifestyle that they had, or way things were before they had the fire or the flood or the accident when they were driving their car.
Yeah, make their lives just a little bit better.
Yes, sir. And more quickly.
More quickly, yeah, exactly. So you've been part of just countless, I'm sure, discussions with FEMA, with insurers, with lawmakers. Have you had any kind of aha moments through the course of those discussions that you can share with us, that just really kind of just stood out for you?
Yeah. One of the things that always amazes me is once you talk to people, it seems that all of a sudden that you can see that they start to understand the issues. I don't think many people think it. Most people think, insurance, I just have to buy it.
Yeah.
And somebody's making me do that. And when you can see that all of a sudden their interest turns and they're interested and start asking questions about things and how it works and what it means to them, that's when it's kind of an aha moment. It's not necessarily an aha moment for us, but I can see it happen when you're talking to legislators or consumers or anybody. At the end of the day, ours is a relationship business. And when a claim occurs, that's our main opportunity to help and reinforce that relationship. And it's that kind of thing that if we can do more of that and get more education to within the agents or with the consumers or the businesses ahead of time, not just at the claims event, then we will solidify the relationship and help make it stronger, and people will understand better how the business works.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, good answer. Good answer. So, as we begin to wrap up, we always we love to hear from our guests and any kind of wisdom that they might like to share. With industry, with government leaders that are kind of preparing and looking ahead at sort of this new era of multi-peril considerations.
Sure. I think the people need to, and everybody that's involved in this, and I was just in West Virginia speaking to the Credit Union League there last week. And what people need to understand is insurance is really a pass-through mechanism. So the losses and things we do to prevent the losses drive the costs. Flexibility to innovate, use the information that helps them more accurately predict losses, is helpful to us all. We're in the business of protecting what matters most, as we say on our website. We serve consumers, businesses, and government. We offer a valuable financial product, and that provides a peace of mind and the protection that allows the economy, our businesses, and communities to continue to thrive and grow. And I think that's the thing that we need to make sure that those people are aware of. Yes, we make a profit most of the time for the businesses that offer insurance, but the key is we want to be able to serve those consumers and those businesses and the communities in a way that allows them to rebuild and not suffer or the financial hardships that would come without the product that we offer.
All right, Don, that just about wraps things up. Before we go,
Sure.
Is there anything else you'd like to share with our listeners, or anything about the APCIA you'd like to talk about that we didn't cover?
Yeah, I would encourage you to do two things. First of all, look at our website. There's parts of it that are public where you can see some information that's out there that and papers we've written on what's happening in the marketplace if you're so inclined. I would also encourage you to look at things like the Insurance Institute for Highway Safety if you're looking at purchasing a car, because they have information on what kind of cars are safer, or IBHS, the Institute for Business and Home Safety, which is a place that deals with a lot of things related to buildings and structures and how we can make those safer and more resilient. And lastly, I'd like to say thanks to you, John, and Solstice, for allowing us to barge in on some of your on some of your products or some of your information here and talk with you to get the word out, as the saying goes.
Yeah, it's not barging at all. We really appreciate you being here and appreciate everything that you and the APCIA does. Your clients are our clients, right? So your partners
Yes,
are
sir.
our partners.
That's for sure. And we want to, and our whole goal is to make sure that we can preserve that and have a competitive market, because
Yeah,
competition really is beneficial to everyone.
absolutely.
And that's what that's our main mission in the industry.
Yep. Yep. All right, Don. Well, thanks very much again for being here.
Thank
Have a
you.
great day.
You do the same, sir.